Hi, I'm Burke MacDonald with Schaumburg Heartbeat. We're in the studio today, but we've invited some guests over from AMITA Healthcare. They're with the Alexian Brolthers Medical Center part of AMITA Health. One is Marcie Crassweller, right?
Crassweller.
Crassweller, I'm sorry. And Myra Creath, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I know as people get older, falls can get to be quite a big problem, and it can also be a problem for young people too if they're not careful. But I know as people age, it becomes a more serious problem, and it's more serious than we know, isn't it?
Actually, it is. About every 14 seconds, somebody is falling. Between the years 2014 and 2015, over $50 billion have been spent as a result of falls.
Well, that's a lot of money, but in addition to that, it's all the inconvenience that leads to it afterward. You see people with boots on because they have to heal it, and the crutches and so on, right?
Mm-hmm. And actually what the CDC says is that this is such an epidemic that we have every September annually is dedicated to fall prevention.
Okay.
And so they look at 6 different issues on how we can prevent falls. One of them is seeing your doctor regularly and reviewing your medications. Another one is telling your doctor about patient falls. Marcie talks well about environmental safety and how we make sure our homes are safe. We also encourage people to utilize their family when they need them, because they need to have some type of plan B as to what happens. And then also visual checks, hearing annually. And then the last thing is developing a lifestyle so that you can encourage exercise and a lot of socialization as people get older.
Right, and a lot of this that we're going to be talking about today really is common sense, but sometimes we just don't use common sense. We don't think about it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the environment. One of the things is lighting. Some people say, oh, this is too bright in here, and some people say it's too dark, but it is important to have the proper lighting, right?
Definitely important to have proper lighting so that you can see where you're going. One statistic that I've read is that by the time you turn age 60, you need 15 times as much light to see as you did when you were 25. So when you're 25, you might need 1 lamp to see, maybe to read this paper. By the time you turn 60, you need 15 lamps.
Oh my God.
Your eyes change. They change as you get older, so you need to make sure that everything is well lit.
And then another little thing, I didn't really realize this until I started doing the preparation for this. Having night lights in your bathroom or in your bedrooms are probably a good idea, so that if you get up in the middle of the night, you have some way to see and make sure that you're not running into corners or anything on the floor, right?
Exactly. Your pathways should be well lit so you can see.
Okay. Another thing that I know is important is that in a home is the railings. Now, many houses have railings on one side of the wall, but not the other side. Is that good, or should people consider putting an extra rail in their house?
A second railing always adds an extra layer of safety, but really if you can go up the stairs holding with one hand, and you can use both hands, so going up on one side you can use one hand, use the other hand coming back down, you're going to be okay.
But it's important to keep the steps clear, right?
Definitely.
I mean, sometimes we use it for storage space, like putting your extra cereal down there. That's not a very good idea.
No, that's pretty common too.
Okay.
Or you pile everything at the bottom of the stairs so that when you go up, you can just grab it as you go up, and then
Right.
you never really take it when you go up, and it just gradually builds up, and that's a hazard. It's definitely a tripping hazard.
And again, I think this show is called Senior Heartbeat for seniors, but even for little kids going down, that can get to be a problem. So we're not just talking about seniors here. This is for everybody's safety.
I always tell people to look at their home and not think about their own safety, or think about their own safety, but also think about the people that might be coming to visit them, their friends and family that come visit them. You want the house to be safe for them too.
Now, carpeting is another problem too, right? I read somewhere that thick carpeting can be a problem, but also you put throw rugs down. The rugs that you put down to sort of like in the wintertime or if there's rain, they should have some backing on them to keep them from moving, right?
You want a non-skid rug always. You want to make sure that it's not going to slip. And people do put down the rubber bath mats, and over time as you wash those, the rubber can kind of disintegrate and then it becomes slippery itself. So you have to make sure that they're in good condition.
You know, and another thing I think we ought to think, when you come in the house, I know my wife doesn't want me going all over the house with all the salt from outside and everything, but you ought to be careful about putting your shoes right by the door, right?
Right. You want to make sure they're not in anybody's pathway.
Right, and then when sometimes you take your stuff that when you're reading, you just pile it up next to the chair, or maybe you have a throw there to put on. Again, you should give that some thought, right?
Make sure your pathways are clear, and keep in mind that newspapers can be very slippery. So if you step on some newspapers, they can go.
And right under your feet, and then you have a problem. Another thing that I don't think we think about, I see it in here, we have to have it this way to get the cameras to work, but I notice there's cords on the floor, and if you're sitting in one end of the living room and you want your computer to run, sometimes you'll run a cord, and that can create a tripping hazard too, right?
Huge. Yeah, we definitely don't want cords across the pathway.
Okay. Well, I think, in other words, you need to look at your house and look around and be aware of what could create a problem.
Yeah.
And it's common sense,
Right.
but we don't always think of it that way.
And think about pets too, and the pet toys that people can leave around, or the pets themselves that, the old dog that's laying in the middle of the floor that's not moving anymore. Just have to be really careful and be aware.
All right, now you're going to give me a good solution to that one?
No.
That one would be hard to work with.
I know, but you got to be aware and
You've got to have your
around
good
it.
treats so you get
Yeah.
the pet to move. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about when we go outside. One thing, a lot of times we're coming now close to summer. People like to wear flip-flops. They look nice, they feel somewhat comfortable, but they're really not very safe, are they?
They're not the sturdiest of shoes. You should wear good, sturdy, good sturdy shoes that have non-skid soles so that you won't slip. And I mean, you see these young girls wearing those super high shoes. I have no idea how they walk in them. But I wouldn't recommend them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess so. Sometimes fashion takes over. But people ought to be aware of the fact that sometimes those things can be dangerous.
Exactly.
Okay. The other thing is, it's at our age especially, but at any age, and people in this community really enjoy walking. And walking's very good for you. But you need to be careful when you're out there walking. You need to know what's on the sidewalk, right?
Exactly. You want to be scanning ahead to see what obstacles might be ahead of you, but then you don't want to walk looking down. Just kind of scan ahead for uneven sidewalks, but also for tree branches and things that may just have dropped down onto the sidewalk. You want to make sure the pathway is clear.
I bet you another thing that you will buy into here, it gives you good posture.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So you're not only
Sit up
protecting
straight.
yourself, but you're putting yourself in a position for good posture. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about medications, because we don't generally probably think about how medications and fall prevention work together, but there's a real tie-in there, isn't there?
Well, absolutely. Medications can be very problematic, especially these days when so many people are on medications. Usually when we ask patients about the medications they're on, we ask them if they take any non-pharmacological, meaning anything over the counter. So many people take vitamins and herbs, and the physicians then will prescribe medications. And all of those can have interactions if people are not aware and people are not informing their doctor of their medications. So what we recommend is that people keep a list of medications with them. So when they see the doctor, they will bring that list of medications.
But you want to emphasize that medication includes everything. If you're taking a supplement or you're taking an herb, those should be on that list.
Absolutely. Anything over the counter, any vitamins, any herbs, letting the doctor know. The other thing is side effects, because side effects are very individual. Marcie and I can be taking the same medication. She may have no problem at all, but I get acid indigestion, some problem that may occur. So we always tell people to make sure that they take, that they're contacting their physician if they have any problems with their medication, because the doctor wouldn't know if they didn't inform him.
You know, you mentioned to me when we were preparing for this, and I thought that's an excellent point, but you don't generally think of it. People really, especially as you get older or you have young children, you're always trying to save money. You're always trying to buy things at the best rate with coupons or going from store to store. And people do that with pharmacies too. It's important that all the different pharmacy knows all your medications so that they can find out if there's any interactions, right?
We always encourage patients to stay with the same pharmacy, so that way the pharmacist helps them to keep track of everything they're taking. But in this day and age, when money is so, money is hard to come by sometimes, and medications can be very expensive. And some stores will say, well, if you have a new prescription, we'll give you $10 off on the medication. It can be very tempting, and some people are really wanting to make that saving, so they will purchase that way with using multiple pharmacies.
So it's important not only to have your doctor be aware of everything, but also the pharmacies that you work with. And some people use mail order and a regular pharmacy in the area too.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's another important point, right?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And with people taking so much medications, sometimes it's very nice to use a pill box so that you can get them all organized and get the box filled for the week, so that you're not having to go bottle by bottle to take your medications.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
It increases the safety all, because you can go ahead and you can take a specific time during the day when you're not as busy and not distracted to go ahead and fill it for the week.
Another thing that you see this all the time, and again, it's common sense, but I don't think people always follow it, is you really need to be aware of your alcohol intake in medicines, because it can have a very direct relationship, right?
As we get older, our metabolism decreases, which means any type of alcohol that we have, the potency increases. And so we feel the alcohol that we drink more than we used to when we were younger. And it's always important when you're taking prescription medications to ask your physician if it's okay to take the occasional cocktail.
Now, how can, you talked at the beginning about knowing you should have your vision checked, and glasses and bifocals can make a difference if you're not looking at through them right. But your depth perception changes and cataracts, and so that yearly exam with your eye doctor is also important, in addition to your regular medical doctor, right?
Absolutely. Accommodation occurs where you can go into a theater, movie theater, and you come out and all of a sudden it's really bright and it's very difficult for you to see. You take a minute or two so that your eyes can adjust to the light or to the darkness, makes so much difference. Even the glare factor. Some people have difficulty with night vision. All of those things really enter into the safety. So taking that minute or two to make sure that your eyes have adjusted makes a big difference.
What are some signs that you might be getting yourself in a balance problem? You talk here in your programs, when you give it, of a definition of a fall as going from a higher position to a lower one unintentionally, and includes plopping. Does that mean you get ready to go sit in the chair and you end up falling in, not in the way you thought you were going to?
That's absolutely right, Burke. What happens is it's a good way to judge how strong our lower extremities are, how our muscles are, because as we lower ourselves, our thigh muscles and our leg muscles have to support us as we're going down. If we get to a point where all of a sudden we're falling into the chair, it's a good symptom that we are at risk for falls. So we really need to be aware of all those symptoms so that we can be proactive and we can prevent falls instead of being on the other end.
Well, and then on the other end, you need to be aware of when you're trying to get up from a chair. If usually you think of just standing up from the chair, but sometimes you have to start getting some extra weight to lift yourself up. Again, that's another sign you need to be aware of your balance, right?
Especially with recliners. As people are watching television and they're putting their feet up and they're laying back, and all of a sudden you hear the doorbell or the telephone and people will jump up to answer. They've got that. What happens is all of the circulation will go down to their extremities and they feel lightheaded. So what's really important is to get yourself in a sitting position wait for a minute or two, and then get up, and you're much safer.
If you start to feel dizzy, is that a sign that could be a problem when you're getting up or sitting down?
Possibly. If it's just that you're doing it quickly, it may be that you just need that other little bit of time. But if it's something that reoccurs, I would certainly let your doctor know. It could be as simple as changing a medication or modifying your diet. But if it happens more than just a couple of times, it would be good to notify your doctor.
And it's probably good for the children of a person that's older to listen very carefully. And if they start hearing their parents or grandparents say they're a little nervous about falling, that's a signal for the family to try to work together to make sure all these things we're talking about are in order, right?
Absolutely. You know, in this day and age when we can do things to our faces to make ourselves younger, and our hair color and all kinds of things out there, people forget sometimes that their inner organs continue to age, and there's not much we can do about that. And oftentimes people will kind of deny their age, and so they think they can go up and clean the gutters and do the things they used to do. And they need their family to support them, to help them recognize that we are getting older, and we do need some assistance, and we do want to keep safety first.
Now, if somebody does fall, is that a sign of trouble if within the past year you've heard? Maybe you're at a family event and say, oh, a couple weeks ago, Mom fell. Is that another sign, too, that maybe somebody ought to at least consult with somebody about that action?
Well, it's always important to notify the doctor if you have a fall, because then he can be aware and he knows your diagnoses, he knows the medications you're on, to see whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or something that is just transit, that just was an accident, that is not going to be something that reoccurs. Family members should be aware and keep track of their families, so that if a mom is falling, to find out, well, what happened.
There are resources out here to help you in some of these needs. One of them, it's a great resource. It's short term. I mean, they won't lend these materials out forever. But the Schaumburg Lending Closet over on Schaumburg Road, there's the nursing headquarters. They have a lending closet that you'd be amazed at how much material is in there. And you can get some of these things that you might need, like if you do fall, maybe you're going to need a wheelchair for a week. Well, they'd be able to help you out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. We also went over to Mark Drugs and not talked to them, but I tried to consult with them about some things. One is a step stool that hopefully we can show that it has a handle on it, so that when you step on it, you have some way to also balance yourself, right?
Yeah, the best thing would be not to have to use a step stool, but if you do have to use a step stool, you want to have something to hold on to when you're stepping up and down.
They also have a tool over there that has a gripper, so if stuff falls on the floor, even one of them will pick up keys.
Yeah.
That can help you so you don't have to bend down and grab it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
How about the tub? One of the things I noticed over there, they had a bench that where you put it over the tub and you can sort of slide over into the tub, and is that a good idea?
Yes, they say that by the time you turn 75, you spent a year and a half in the bathroom, so you might as well you might as well make it safe. So the type of bench that you're talking about is called a tub transfer bench, and 2 legs are inside the tub and 2 legs are outside the tub. So all a person needs to do is walk over, sit, kind of swing legs up over the edge of the tub, and then scoot over, and then you're in without having to step over the edge of the tub.
Okay,
Safest.
and he also mentioned it's probably a good idea to get an extension for your shower then that you can turn the water on and off from a lower position.
Exactly.
So when you're getting out of the tub, you're not getting all wet and getting the floor all wet.
Exactly, and you want to make sure that you have sturdy grab bars installed. You don't want to ever be grabbing onto a towel rack, because a towel rack's made to hold a towel, not you. We don't really recommend those suction grab bars, because Consumer Reports rated them as being up to 140 pounds, and if you're going to fall, you might be putting more than that amount of pressure on it. So, and then are you sure that the suction's holding? I would just say you want to get sturdy grab bars that are screwed into the studs.
Okay, now we want to make you into real television stars, and I hear that you have a demonstration, that you can show us a couple of simple home exercises and also how you're supposed to get up from a fall. Is that right?
I can show you those.
Okay, well, let's take a second and rearrange the studio here a little bit for you and do that. Myra, it looks like Marcie's had a problem here. Is she okay?
Oh my goodness, Marcie, how are you feeling?
I'm okay.
Take a minute or two to kind of check everything out.
Make sure my hips don't hurt, my back doesn't hurt,
Right.
nothing hurts, I'm fine.
You think we should call for help?
Okay.
Or you
No.
think you'll be all right?
I think I'm going to be able to get up.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to help
Pick
her?
up your knees. Okay. Next thing, slowly roll on your side. Use your elbows to get your upper body up.
And I'm going to push up onto my hands and knees.
Okay, that's good. And slowly then move to a chair. Make sure that chair is sturdy. Make sure we don't have anything on casters.
You don't want any rollers on that chair.
No
Right.
rollers on the chair.
And if you're outside, you'd maybe want to crawl to a car or a tree or something.
Okay, one leg, pick one leg up, then the other. Using your chair, holding onto the arm, slowly turn yourself around.
You
and
want to make sure you,
ease down.
yeah, and you take it slowly if you can so that you don't get dizzy during lying to standing.
Okay, do you feel okay?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're not dizzy or anything?
No.
Okay.
Okay. If that were not the case, then you would be calling for help. If you were by yourself, you would be looking for a telephone so that you could call someone for assistance.
Is it a good idea to probably carry a cell phone with you for if something like this happens and you might be able to reach for a cell phone?
Especially if you're living alone. It's very important to have a method of communication close by.
Okay. All right, we're going to take another real quick break and you're going to show us 2 or 3 exercises you can do at home, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So
Here.
what you need to be sure of to keep yourself from falling, keep yourself strong, is you want to make sure that your thigh muscles and your hip extensor muscles, your gluteus muscles, are nice and strong. Those are the muscles that really help keep you nice and stable so you don't fall. Before we start, I want to show you this book. It's a book put out by the National Institute of Health. You can order it online. It's your tax dollars at work and it's free. And it has all kinds of information in it about proper eating, proper nutrition to stay nice and strong, and then it does have some exercises in here that you can do. So I recommend everybody ordering this book from online from the government. One other thing I want to make sure it's clear is that we are not prescribing exercises to you because there's no way we can know what medical conditions you might have. I just wanted to show you a couple exercises that can help build up your hip and knee extensor strength. So they're really simple. The first one is basically just sit to stand. So you're going to try to stand up without without using your arms. But if you need to use your arms, go right ahead. But this is going to strengthen your quads and your hip extensors. Try to do it 5 times. 3. I can hear my knees cracking, but that's okay.
You didn't have to tell that little secret.
Probably everybody has that. So that's one very simple exercise that you can do. You can do that while you're watching TV. Just make sure you stand up. During every commercial, sit to stand a few times. Another one that'll get the same set of muscles is just shallow knee bends, down and up. Not all the way down, but just down and up. You could do it. And then another exercise that's really important, because you also want to keep your ankles strong. So just going up and down on tiptoes 5 times.
And this also will let you know if your balance is still good, right? 'Cause you're,
Well, you're holding on. I always tell people to hold on lightly. You can either hold on to the back of a chair, or you can go stand by the kitchen sink where you can kind of hold on to the rim by the sink. And one other exercise, any standing exercises are really good for your balance, because while you're lifting one leg, you're strengthening that leg, but then you're strengthening the stability portion of the leg that you're actually standing on. So standing exercises are really beneficial. The last exercise that I like people to do is kicking your leg out to the side. So I'm going to show it to you from here. So if you do it with your toes pointed straight ahead, you're going to be doing it properly. And you just lift your leg out to the side and back. Then you're using your hip abductors, which are really important for stability. And you can see that my toes are pointed straight ahead, so this is as far as I can go. But if I rotate my leg out a little bit, I can go a lot higher, but I'm no longer using the right muscles. So it's better not to go so far, just 5 times each side. Oopsie, and you don't want a chair that tips.
and you don't want to host on the other side, but you do it on the other side also.
Yeah, I do it on both sides. Oh, and just practice balancing on one foot. Just try to build up your strength for balancing on one foot. When
But
you're
again, you use a chair to stabilize yourself.
yeah, light touch.
Okay.
You know, if you can let go a little bit, that's okay too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that was really interesting. That gives us some information, but I think we ought to also remember that we're with the Schaumburg Park District, and the Schaumburg Park District has some very good programs that are designed to work with balance and so on. There's a Buzu Mobility, I might have mispronounced that. That's an exercise program that works with a specific device to work on your balance. They have a program over at the CRC called Ageless Grace, where you work from a chair and do exercises for about 45 minutes, and it really does give you some stretching things, and also balance ends up working in there. Tai Chi's a good program that's available at the Park District. Yoga's a good program for working on things. Club 55 is a good program. We happened to do a program on this whole area last month, and if you go onto the Park Fund website and click on the TV section and go down to Schaumburg Heartbeat and just go to the March programs, you'll be able to see that. And I think that you'll find, again, that what's nice about these programs, it brings in social aspects, right? And gets people to cooperate, and they check on each other that they're doing things to keep going, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely. It makes exercise fun when you can enjoy it with friends.
Well, that's true. And I'm assuming you would be available to talk to if people have any questions outside of this at AMITA Home Health Care, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, I guess the bottom line is that sort of review what we did today is environment becomes very important, right, as you started at the beginning. Talking to your doctor is very important. And not just your regular medical doctor, but also your eye doctors and hearing doctors to check your ears and so on, right? Take personal responsibility for yourself. Add exercise. You showed some simple exercises you can do at home, but we'd encourage you to use the Park District because that's important too. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today. keep maintaining your independence, and don't forget, take time for fun.